So, let's do this. How did medieval people take care of themselves? Well, imagine a typical day in the life of someone living in a medieval town or village. Let's start with the basics. Medieval folks didn't have things like soap, shampoo, or toothpaste, but they did use some pretty creative alternatives. You see, in those days, people relied on things like scented oils, perfumed waters, and herbal soaps to stay fresh. These weren't just fancy luxuries. They were practical ways to deal with the, shall we say, aromatic challenges of medieval life. Now, if you were feeling a bit under the weather, you might turn to some herbal remedies. Medieval people loved their herbs, using them for everything from teas to balms to even perfumes. Herbs like lavender and rosemary not only smelled great, they were believed to have healing properties. Speaking of remedies, let's talk about tooth care. In the absence of modern toothpaste and toothbrushes, people used things like crushed herbs, ground bones, and even vinegar rinses to clean their teeth. Brushing your teeth with a bone sounds a bit odd, but hey, it's all natural, right? But wait, there's more. One of the most fascinating aspects of medieval hygiene was the attitude towards bathing. On one hand, it was seen as a way to stay healthy and get rid of dirt and bad smells. On the other hand, there was a belief that bathing too much could actually make you sick. Can you believe it? This may sound crazy, but it was a common belief back then. Some people thought that water could open your pores and let diseases in. Yikes. So what was the solution? Well, some people would cover themselves in scented oils or dust themselves with fragrant powders to keep the bad smells away. Now, despite these beliefs, bathing was still seen as an important part of preparing for church on Sunday. Many families would make it a point to bathe on Saturday nights so they could attend services smelling fresh. Even the wealthy had their own bathing rituals, often using perfumed waters and luxurious soaps in their own private baths. However, for the general population, public bathhouses were the main spot to cleanse oneself. These bathhouses were more than just places to bathe. They were social hubs where people could catch up on the latest gossip, discuss town news, or just relax in the company of others. Interestingly, some bathhouses even had separate areas for men and women, a sign of the times, perhaps when gender roles were strictly defined. So there you have it, a glimpse into the world of medieval hygiene. From herbal toothpastes to oil-based perfumes, these folks had their own unique ways of staying fresh. Next time you reach for that tube of toothpaste or turn on your shower, just remember that hygiene has a long and surprising history. Imagine, if you will, a busy medieval marketplace. The air buzzes with activity. Merchants hawk their wares, shoppers haggle over prices, and the scene is alive with bartering and banter. Suddenly, a piercing cry cuts through the din. Beware the plague. Beware the sickness. The cry spreads like wildfire, whipping the crowd into a frenzy. People flee, abandoning their goods, their animals, and their carts. One by one, the stalls are emptied, the market deserted, leaving behind an eerie silence and a sense of foreboding. This sudden flight mirrors a drastic shift in history that saw the decline of public baths in medieval Europe. Once bustling hubs of social life, they were transformed into symbols of disease and abandonment. Why did such an integral part of daily life become synonymous with fear and isolation? Let us dive into the history of the medieval bathhouse and uncover the chilling reasons behind the demise of this once vibrant institution. When the Black Death swept across Europe in the 14th century, it left no aspect of medieval life untouched. Amidst the widespread panic and death, people began to seek explanations and scapegoats. Public baths, already subjected to suspicion due to their association with nudity and intimate spaces, became easy targets. The notion that water could carry and spread disease took hold, leading to the closure of public baths in many towns and cities. No longer seen as a place of relaxation and socialization, they were now viewed as potential death traps. But let's take a journey back to a time before the plague, to the height of medieval civilization. Picture yourself stepping into a typical medieval bathhouse. You're greeted by the comforting aroma of heated stone and the soothing sounds of water lapping. The bathhouse, whether grand or humble, serves as a communal space where people come together to bathe, socialize, and unwind. As you explore further, you discover separate areas for men and women, each filled with patrons of various social classes, all united in the common pursuit of cleanliness and camaraderie. The air is filled with animated conversations as friends catch up, share stories, and exchange news. Children splash in shallow pools, while attendants diligently pour water from ornate jugs, ensuring every patron's comfort. It's a scene of camaraderie and relaxation. But there's more to this seemingly simple ritual than meets the eye. In fact, medieval bathhouses were more than just places for bathing. They were social hubs where people from all walks of life came together. In these steam-filled chambers, social barriers often seemed to fade away, replaced by a sense of shared humanity. Whether you were a grimy peasant or a nobleman seeking respite from a long journey, the bathhouse offered a place of respite and camaraderie. This melting pot of society led to the spread of information, gossip, and news, making the bathhouse an important source of social intelligence. However, as the Middle Ages progressed, attitudes towards public baths began to shift. The fear of disease, coupled with changing social norms and the rise of alternative bathing practices, contributed to the decline of these communal spaces. By the end of the medieval period, public baths had all but disappeared from most European cities. But their legacy lived on in smaller, more private forms, such as the communal washing of linens and the use of chamber pots. The story of the medieval bathhouse is a compelling journey through history, reflecting not only changing attitudes towards hygiene and disease, but also the evolution of social norms and values. From their Roman roots to their medieval heyday, these establishments played a significant role in daily life. But it's the transition from communal bathing to private ablutions that truly makes the story fascinating. It's a tale of cultural shifts, societal pressures, and the enduring human need for cleanliness and connection. As we reflect on the history of the medieval bathhouse, we can't help but appreciate the complexity of the past. These establishments, far from being mere places to bathe, were integral parts of medieval communities, shaping social interactions, spreading news, and reflecting the values of the time. Their eventual decline serves as a reminder of how quickly perceptions can change and how even the most ingrained practices can fall out of favor. The story of the medieval bathhouse is a testament to the richness and complexity of our history, and an invitation to look beyond the stereotypes when exploring the past. Now, dear viewers, we want to hear your thoughts. Did you find this journey through history intriguing? Do you have any more questions about medieval bathhouses or other aspects of daily life in the Middle Ages? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement keeps us motivated to bring more fascinating historical tales to life. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on our latest adventures through time. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring the captivating stories that shaped our world. For centuries, certain everyday things carry meaning and memories beyond their original purpose. Today, when you wake up early, make your bed and put on clean clothes, you are continuing traditions born in the medieval era. But if you're like me, one of the highlights of my day is enjoying a nice bar of soap and a cup of tea. Tea, soothing, familiar scent of lavender soap reminds me of childhood baths, and the rich flavor of tea brings comfort after a busy day. But did you know that both tea and lavender have fascinating medieval roots? First, let's talk about tea. Legend says that Emperor Shennong of China accidentally discovered tea around 2737 BC, when leaves from a nearby tree fell into his boiling water. He found the resulting brew not just pleasant, but healthy. Soon, tea drinking spread throughout China, eventually reaching Europe with traders along the Silk Road. By the 12th century, European monks were growing medicinal herbs in their gardens, including a plant called purpurita. Its leaves, when boiled, produced a drink that looked and tasted like tea. As more global exploration occurred, so did the popularity of tea. By the 16th century, Europeans had access to different types of tea, which quickly became a luxury good. Tea drinking became associated with wealth and culture. Elaborate silver tea sets appeared in noble households. Then, in 1662, the British East India Company secured a monopoly on Chinese tea, ensuring a steady supply. As tea houses and coffee houses emerged, tea drinking became part of daily life. People would meet over tea to discuss politics, philosophy, and art, and the custom continues to this day. Now let's turn to lavender. This fragrant herb was also first cultivated in China, valued for both its scent and health benefits. By the 1st century AD, Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder described lavender's uses in his book, The Natural History. During the Middle Ages, lavender grew wild in southern Europe, and monks began distilling its essential oils, creating fragrant waters and soaps. Its pleasant smell helped mask other odors, and it became associated with purity, making it popular for washing clothes and linens. During the Renaissance, the French developed lavender terraces on hillsides to create a unique landscape for growing and harvesting the plant. Today, both tea and lavender continue to thrive. Different varieties of tea are enjoyed worldwide, from Darjeeling to Earl Grey. Farmers grow over 300 different kinds of lavender in France alone. Now you can find lavender products everywhere, from soaps to potpourri. It is safe to say that both tea and lavender have come a long way from their origins in Asia. They crossed continents, cultures, and centuries to become part of our daily lives. But how does this relate to the habits of the wealthy in medieval Europe? Well, records show that many aristocrats favored simple foods and plain clothing, but they certainly didn't deny themselves scented waters and soaps. In fact, bathing was considered a necessary luxury for the upper classes. They recognized that cleanliness prevented illness and bad smells, which could ruin a reputation. So while kings and queens bathed regularly, commoners did not. Many peasants shared communal baths only occasionally, and public baths were often crowded and unsanitary. On the other hand, a typical noble household would have a bathhouse with hot and cold running water and a supply of scented oils and soaps. Wealthy families might have their own private baths, too, with servants to draw hot water and lay out scented towels. The bathrooms may have had windows to let in light and even underfloor heating. Some bathhouses were quite grand, decorated with artwork, and furnished with couches for relaxing. There were even public baths near ancient Roman ruins in Britain where people could bathe and socialize. But there was also a darker side to bathing in the Middle Ages. Public baths could be dangerous because of the lack of privacy and the risk of theft. In England, Scotland, and Ireland, laws known as the Beware, the Suds ordinances prohibited bathing during Lent as a distraction from religious duties. Also, some people believed that frequent bathing washed away the protective oils on the skin and made you more vulnerable to illness. Despite these beliefs, bathing remained a common practice, and no matter what the warnings, people continued to enjoy the pleasures of a warm bath. So what can we learn from all this? For starters, cleanliness is not just a habit, it's a reflection of society. Bathing and scents were not just about hygiene, they were about status and religion, too. For the wealthy in medieval Europe, fragrant soaps and scented waters were essential accessories, a way to distinguish themselves from the crowd. Yet despite the differences in hygiene between classes, the act of bathing and enjoying scents like tea and lavender was something that united everyone. Maybe this is why these traditions have lasted so long. No matter who we are, a bit of lavender or a cup of tea can bring us comfort and peace. In the end, a little luxury goes a long way. Thanks for watching. Remember to stay soapy and subscribe. The wind whispers tales of the Middle Ages through crumbling castles and ancient texts, leaving us with glimpses of their daily life. But what did everyday people do for fun? How did they unwind after a long week's work? Join me now as we paint a picture of a typical Saturday night in a medieval village. As the week draws to a close, the market stalls have been folded away. The blacksmith's hammer rests in silence, and the fields lie still under the fading light of Saturday evening. Bells in the distance call softly across the air, reminding everyone of what tomorrow brings: church. But before stepping into that sacred space, before gathering with neighbors in their best clothes, there is one ritual that almost every family observed: the Saturday night bath. This was no mere splash of water on the face. It was a cultural expectation, a habit woven into the fabric of medieval life, where faith, cleanliness, and community intersected in one practice. The Saturday night bath was a way of preparing body and soul for the holy day ahead. Life in the Middle Ages followed rhythms that were deeply tied to religion. Each day had its prayers, each week its holy day. Sunday was not only a day of worship but also a public performance of piety and respectability. Families entered the church not just to hear Mass, but also to be seen by neighbors, by lords, by God himself. Cleanliness, then, became part of devotion. To arrive at church unwashed was to risk shame. dust from the fields, sweat from labor, the smoke of the hearth all. These were washed away on Saturday evening, so that one might approach the altar, purified in both body and spirit. For most families, Saturday afternoon was a time of preparation. Water had to be drawn from the well or river, carried in heavy buckets to the hearth, and heated over crackling fires. This was work that required planning and effort. Children fetched kindling, women tended kettles, men hauled tubs from storage. The bath itself might be a large wooden tub hauled into the center of the room. It was lined with cloth to keep out splinters, then filled with steaming water. Herbs were sometimes tossed in rosemary if available, mint or sage for freshness, even chamomile to soothe aching muscles after a week's toil. For poorer households, the ritual was simpler. A small basin of warm water shared among family members with careful sponging rather than soaking. The Saturday bath was often communal. In many households, especially among peasants, privacy was limited. Children bathed together, parents assisted the young, and water was reused out of necessity. The eldest or the father might bathe first in the freshest water, followed by others in order of age or importance. Imagine a humble cottage, smoke curling from the hearth, the scent of herbs rising from the tub, laughter and chatter filling the room as each family member takes a turn. The act of bathing was not only cleansing, but also bonding, a shared ritual that marked the turning of the week. The Saturday bath carried a spiritual weight. To cleanse the body before entering church was an outward symbol of inner purity. Medieval people believed that God was pleased by physical cleanliness, seeing it as a reflection of respect for the holy space. Priests often encouraged this practice, reminding their congregations that the body was the temple of the soul. A man who appeared on Sunday with greasy hair and dirty hands might be judged not only by his neighbors, but by heaven itself. Thus, bathing was an act of devotion, a preparation for prayer. Cleanliness also shaped social reputation. On Sunday morning, when the village gathered at the church doors, everyone could see who had taken the ritual seriously. The scent of herbs lingered on hair, clothes looked freshly laundered, and faces glowed from the warmth of the bath. Those who skipped the ritual stood out, marked as careless or unrespectable. Gossip was as much a part of medieval life as prayer, and a family's reputation could rise or fall with such small details. By the 18th century, attitudes towards bathing began to shift. Some started to believe that bathing every day, not just on Saturdays, was healthy and necessary. Slowly, the Saturday night bath became less about hygiene and more about community and faith. And so the custom continued for hundreds of years. And there you have it, a glimpse into the heart of a medieval village, where your Saturday night was spent on familiar rituals and communal bonds. Until next time, may your days be merry and your baths plentiful. In the heart of a bustling medieval city, amidst the clatter of blacksmiths and the murmur of merchants, stood a humble apothecary. Inside, among jars of dried herbs and vials of shimmering liquids, stood sacks filled with fine powders. These were no mere trinkets, but carefully concocted blends of ingredients designed to do everything from treating a cough to, yes, cleaning teeth. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we re-whisking you away to the Middle Ages to explore the surprising world of medieval teeth whitening. What did people use to clean their teeth in the Middle Ages? Well, let's find out. Welcome to my humble shop. Here we carry all sorts of remedies for ailments of the body and the soul. You seek something for tooth cleaning, perhaps? Yes, right this way. Do you see these shelves, laden with jars and sacks? We stock a variety of cleaning powders, each with its own unique blend of ingredients. Here, allow me to introduce you to a few of our top sellers. First, let's take a look at this sack of ground bones. Not just any bones, mind you, but carefully selected animal bones that have been cleaned and pulverized. These provide a gentle abrasive that helps scrape away any residue and leave the teeth feeling wonderfully polished. Now, what about this one? That is a special blend of crushed shells. The calcium carbonate in them acts as a mild cleanser, helping to brighten the teeth over time. Moving on, you may notice these little pouches filled with charcoal. Now, don't be alarmed by its dark color. This burnt bread or wood charcoal is excellent for both cleansing and whitening the teeth. Just a pinch mixed in with your powder gives it a lovely purifying effect. And here's a jar of salt. Need I say more? Salt scrubs have been used for ages to clean and disinfect. A little goes a long way in keeping your mouth feeling fresh and your teeth sparkling. Now, let me show you some of our more exotic imports. From distant lands, this cinnamon powder, oh, so exquisite, adds not only a delightful flavor, but also a lovely glow to your teeth. Same with these cloves. Their unique aroma and taste aside, they also contribute to a wider, healthier smile. These ingredients are just the beginning. Depending on the desired effect, we might add dried mint, sage or rosemary leaves for a pleasant flavor and breath. Ground iris, root for a truly perfume-like scent, or even a touch of pepper for a bit of zing. After the powder, it's time for a rinse. Simply sprinkling a bit in your mouth and swishing it around will leave your teeth feeling amazingly clean and your breath delightfully fresh. Of course, feel free to dilute it with water depending on your preference. Here, let me demonstrate. I start by pouring boiling water over a handful of fresh mint leaves, then let it steep until it cools. After that, it's ready to rinse. Oh! And don't worry about the staining. This batch has been boiled, so it won't affect the color of your teeth. Between the powders and the rinses, these products are flying off our shelves. Every social class uses them, from the nobility to, well, to everyone else. The desire for a clean, healthy mouth knows no bounds. It isn't just about aesthetics. You know, bad breath can be quite embarrassing, especially during important meetings or, well, during a kiss. Keeping teeth clean prevents cavities, too. No one wants a face marred by missing teeth. While these treatments are popular, let's not forget the classics. Many swear by the simple routine of rubbing their teeth with a cloth dipped in vinegar or wine. My personal recommendation is to go easy on the wine, unless you want your teeth to have a purple tinge. I tell you, the demand for these tooth cleaning products never ceases to amaze me. It's clear that people, regardless of their station in life, want to take care of their teeth. After all, a healthy set of teeth is a sign of good health, vitality, and, yes, a pleasant aroma. Who wouldn't want that? And there you have it, a glimpse into the world of medieval teeth whitening. What did people use to clean their teeth in the Middle Ages? Well, they used a variety of natural ingredients and methods to keep their teeth clean and their breath fresh. From simple salt scrubs to herbal rinses and aromatic powders, they had quite the arsenal. Remember, it wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about health, confidence, and, well, not having bad breath. So the next time you reach for your modern toothbrush and toothpaste, spare a thought for the medieval folks with their linen cloths and herbal concoctions. They were onto something. Until next time, happy cleaning. Now let's move on to your second video of the day. Here's one of my favorite subjects, medieval food. If you think our food culture is ridiculous now, just wait until you hear about the bizarre lengths people went to acquire the rarest ingredients in medieval Europe. Because of trade routes, political alliances, and, well, plain old greed. Some of the most exotic foods found their way to medieval plates. But not everyone was so lucky. What did people eat when there were no spices, no avocados, and no pizza delivery? Let's find out. Welcome to Life Noggin. Today we're answering the question, what did medieval peasants eat? When we think of peasant food, bland and boring usually comes to mind. But don't be fooled. Medieval peasants ate surprisingly diverse meals, thanks to innovations in farming and a bustling trade network that brought exotic ingredients right to their doorsteps. We'll get to those exciting ingredients in a minute. But first, let's talk about the basics. Medieval peasant diets consisted mainly of grains like wheat, barley, and oats, along with legumes such as peas and beans. Vegetables like cabbage, onions, carrots, and herbs were also staples, as were apples and other hardy fruits. Meat was less common, especially for poor peasants. But when it was eaten, it was often pork or poultry. Dairy products like cheese and milk were important sources of nutrition and were common throughout medieval Europe. But remember, this was the Dark Ages. Pestilence and famine were common occurrences, meaning the availability of food varied greatly depending on where you lived and when. Food shortages could last for years, forcing people to survive on meager rations or whatever they could forage. Still, people had to rely on what they could grow or raise, making local geography crucial to their diet. Peasants in mountainous regions, for example, would have had more access to wild game and dairy products, while those near the coast would have eaten more fish. But even during the worst famines, life went on. Markets bustled with vendors selling their wares, and wealthy nobles hosted feasts with multi-course meals fit for royalty. And as trade routes expanded, new foods started appearing on medieval menus. Spices like cinnamon, ginger, and pepper, once rare luxuries, became somewhat commonplace, adding flavor to both peasant and noble dishes. Exotic fruits like lemons and pomegranates made their way to European tables, and ingredients like sugar and rice were used in new and innovative ways. But while these imported ingredients might seem out of place in medieval Europe, they were simply the latest additions to a long line of adopted foods. Medieval cooks weren't afraid to experiment. They took traditional recipes and added their own twists, creating hearty stews, roasted game, pies filled with both sweet and savory fillings, and spiced breads. They even developed techniques to preserve food for long periods, ensuring that fresh flavors lasted all year round. For example, drying herbs allowed their flavor to be recaptured in soups and stews. Fruits were preserved in vinegar and sugar, turning them into tangy condiments, and the invention of the pickling process ensured that vegetables like cucumbers and onions could be enjoyed even months after harvest. One of the most interesting aspects of medieval food culture is how it reflected social status. While peasants ate what they could grow and raise, nobles and the wealthy classes enjoyed a completely different culinary experience. Their tables were laden with exotic meats like peacock and venison, as well as imported spices and ingredients that symbolized their wealth and power. These lavish meals weren't just about satisfying hunger. They were about displaying power and prestige, and nowhere was this more evident than at royal feasts. Royal banquets were legendary events, lasting 4 days and consisting of multiple courses of the finest foods and wines. It was a chance to impress visiting dignitaries and reinforce the king's status as a powerful and generous ruler. During the Middle Ages, new foods continued to arrive in Europe, bringing with them new flavors and culinary traditions. The potato, for example, made its way from the Americas and was quickly adopted into local cuisines. And the introduction of printing technology allowed for the spread of cookbooks and recipes across Europe. This led to a standardization of recipes and cooking techniques, and the birth of iconic dishes like pot roast and chicken a la king. But while the Middle Ages saw plenty of culinary innovation, they also witnessed devastating outbreaks of foodborne illnesses. The lack of basic hygiene and safety standards meant that food poisoning was common, and outbreaks of bubonic plague sometimes coincided with periods of famine, making food safety a matter of life and death. Despite these challenges, medieval cooks continued to push the boundaries of what could be done with humble ingredients. They created dishes that were not only delicious, but also visually stunning. Meat was often served in elaborate sauces, garnished with fresh herbs and spices. And bakers perfected the art of making pastries and breads with intricate designs and flavors. Today, we look back at medieval food culture and see a fascinating blend of necessity, innovation, and excess. It was a time when geography, economics, and social status shaped the way people ate and what they had access to. While we might not be eating squirrel pie anytime soon, we owe a lot of our modern cooking techniques and flavor combinations to the creativity of medieval cooks. So next time you sit down to a meal, take a moment to appreciate the long and winding path that brought that food to your plate, from the soils where it was grown to the hands that prepared it. Every bite is a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of those who came before us. And thank you for joining me on this journey through time. Until next time, stay curious. In the quiet corners of history, amidst the grand narratives of kings and conquests, there are stories that whisper of simpler times. They speak of everyday life, of laughter and whispers in bathhouses, of homes perfumed with herbs, of communities coming together and apart. They tell tales of Saturday night baths, of curious dental practices, and even the fear that bathing might bring illness. Each of these stories is a thread in the rich tapestry of the past, inviting us to step into another time and place. Now, close your eyes for a moment and imagine the night settling over a medieval town. The vibrant hues of the day melt into a cool twilight. The air, once filled with the bustle of market vendors and children at play, grows still. Torches along the houses begin to flicker, casting dancing shadows on the stone walls. The scent of wood smoke mingles with the sweet perfume of herbs, creating a heady, nostalgic aroma. This was the hour when families would retreat into their timber-framed homes, pulling their doors shut against the encroaching darkness. Inside these homes, the ritual of bathing began. Great cauldrons of water, heated over crackling fires, filled with fragrant herbs and fragrant oils. The water, a luxurious blend of heat and scent, was ready. The air, thick with the aroma of lavender, rosemary and thyme, carried on the steam. Women, men, and children, their voices echoing with laughter and chatter, would disrobe and step into the healing embrace of the water. They scrubbed their bodies with rough linen cloths, scraping away dirt and weariness from the day. Their skin, clean and glowing, emerged from the scrub, soft and supple. Imagine, if you will, the comforting weight of a linen towel on your skin, the gentle patting motion, the camaraderie of shared stories in a dimly lit room. It was more than just a bath. It was a social event, a moment of shared humanity. In this sacred space of warmth and water, the worries of the day seemed to melt away. The anxieties of a world filled with plague and peril were forgotten. For a few precious moments, there was only the comforting warmth of the bathhouse and the soothing rhythm of the water. As the water cooled and the steam began to fade, the bathers prepared for bed. They donned fresh linens, inhaled the soothing scent of lavender, and blew out the candles, one by one, leaving the bathhouse to its slumber. Outside, the night deepened, and the moon climbed higher in the sky. The silence was broken only by the distant sound of a lute and the soft murmur of dreams beginning to form. If this story resonated with you, if you found comfort in these moments of tranquility from a bygone era, please share your thoughts below. Your comments are my inspiration. And if you'd like to continue exploring history's hidden gems with me, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, sleep well and dream of faraway places. May your nights be filled with peaceful rest and your days with joyous discovery. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time. Until we meet again.